Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Reading Held Hostage. My name's Blue. I love to read.
No, my name's Justin, and I hate reading.
You always start so aggressively. It's because you're a man.
I need to restart, or I have to bleep that out for the YouTube.
What did I say?
I said...
Bleep it out.
I said...
It's already not child-friendly content. We're reading The Hunger Games for...
Yeah. No, you said it.
Alright. Pull the cursies in. We're gonna keep going on The Hunger Games Catching Fire. I believe this is part 4, which is good. I think we only have one more part to this. So, tell me what happened last time around.
Oof. It's been some time.
You edited it?
I did edit it.
Yep.
I have no clue where we're at, dude.
Nothing at all?
No clue.
No thoughts?
No thoughts.
All right, let me pull up my last notes. Oh, something I wanted to do. So I did a new note-taking style for this round. This book, I took all of them in one document.
Oh.
Instead of separating them. So I want you to guess how many words I did. There are 27 chapters to The Hunger Games.
27 chapters. I'm going to say 2,700.
27... So 2,700 words.
Yes.
You are so wrong, it's not even funny.
Oh, yeah?
I have 18,000 words.
Okay.
How? 2,700 words?
I thought like 100 per.
Per chapter?
Yeah.
That's so interesting how your brain works.
Yeah?
Yeah. If anybody gets closer, let me know. 'Cause I don't know. I feel like it's definitely a lot, but I feel like it's a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Single spaced, by the way. My full, all notes document is 29 pages.
Okay.
Maybe 30. Yeah, it ended at 30. So, anyways, as we were saying, where we were, I closed the document I needed. Because this is 2019. Oh, yeah. So they got chosen for the Quell, obviously. Mm-hmm. They were on the train to the Capitol, and they just watched Haymitch's games. And we remember how he lived.
Yeah.
And Katniss kind of ended a little happy because she's sure that her and Haymitch, two people who have caused so much unintentional shit for the Capitol, will be able to keep Peeta alive.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And today we're going to start on chapter 15. So she's now in the Capitol. She's with her prep team. And all of them break into tears at least twice during this. And one of them, Octavia, is crying like the whole time.
Yeah.
Where they clearly have become attached to her. But also like in the Capitol way, they're losing their big ticket to all like social events. Like... She's the reason they get in. No, I'm not supposed to move the chair that way, but I hate this chair sometimes. She also realizes that these folks have never understood the idea of being strong for somebody else.
Yeah.
So she has to console them, like, the whole time. And when Cinna shows up, she's emotionally exhausted and upset, and she's like, I can't deal with that again. Cinna's like, it must have been rough. Mm-hmm. And... he tells her that, like, he won't cry because he ends up channeling his emotions into his work, so they'll be okay. And is that the dog? Mm-hmm. And for the opening ceremonies, Cinna has her, like, completely opposite from last year. Last year, all she wore was, like, very simple makeup, like, in her little fire outfit. But this year, she's fucking covered in makeup. Like, looks very old compared to what she looked last year. And the outfit is, like, a simple black one, and she's got a half crown on, like the one she was given when she won the games. Mm-hmm. And her simple black jumper ends up turning into, like, red coal-like flames, as if she's, like, a glowing ember. She admires herself and realizes that she's no longer Katniss, the girl on fire. She's the deadly fire itself, which is like so dramatic. She's directed by Cinna not to give the crowd any attention. Shinna. Say it with me.
Shinna.
Shinna. And after she gets dressed, she heads down to like the area where the victors are getting ready. And everything is way more friendly than it was last year, you know, considering they've all known each other for 50 plus years.
Yeah.
With victors and mentors, everybody's really close. And she's like, oh my god, I hope nobody notices me. But she does get noticed by Finnick Odair. He's crunching something in her ear. And he's, might I add, very beautiful. And he's crunching sugar cubes in her ear. And he's like really flirty. And she acts friendly, but she's very uncomfortable with him being so very close to her since he's practically naked. And like I said, he is beautiful. Like, the guy who played him, I thought, was a very beautiful man, too. I can't remember what his name was.
Oh, it's our favorite segment. Blue Google something in the middle of the show.
No. Sam Claflin. He's a stealth Brit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Gross.
Really, honestly.
Disgusting.
Ew, and his kids are named Pip and Margaret.
I kind of like Pip.
I like Pip a lot. I kind of like Margaret, too, honestly.
It's me, Pip.
It's Pip. Okay, so he's just a handsome, beautiful man. I think he looks pretty similar, but Finnick's just a tan guy with brown hair and green eyes. He's also the youngest person to ever win his games at 14. So this is like his story. He's from District 4, so odds were obviously already in his favor as one of the careers. But he was just so handsome, even at 14. Like, he was just a beautiful kid.
Yeah.
He got all the sponsors that year, which I want you to take this in, what I'm saying. Because in the book, it's a little bit ignored. So he's so beautiful at 14. He gets everything. He gets food. He gets medical things, weapons.
A gun.
Well, he gets the most expensive gift ever seen. He gets a trident, which is so funny to me, because that's just like not something used now, but maybe it's like a big thing in District 4 back then.
Yeah.
But he ends up making nets to catch people and spearing them, and he wins. So again, 14, he was so beautiful at 14, he got this much attention.
Yeah.
So Katniss is thinking, since he was a kid when he won, the Capitol couldn't do much with him. But after he turned 16, he kind of turned into a plaything for the Capitol.
Gross.
So, people of all kinds. So, basically, what Katniss is saying is that at 14, he won, the youngest person ever.
Mm-hmm.
At 16, he became the youngest prostitute in the Capitol.
Oof.
Forced prostitution, too, which some prostitution is. But yeah, he was basically forced into this, which is like...
Gross.
And it completely, like, just gets thrown to the wayside in the book and in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, like, he sleeps with a lot of people in the Capitol, and then in book 3, it's like, yeah, I didn't really want to do that. And it's like...
Yeah.
Great. Anyways... His little outfit is just a golden net, just only knitted around his groin.
Nice.
Pretty much. So he's basically naked.
A net and loincloth.
Yeah, pretty much. They do this weird flirty talk where she's obviously very hostile, because when isn't she? And he's flirty. And he's like, oh, I haven't dealt with something as common as money in years. And she's like, well, then how do people pay for the pleasure of your company? And he's like, secrets. He's like... He says, like, it seems like she probably doesn't have anything because most people tend to know her secrets before she even does.
Yeah.
Then he, like, skedoodles. But, he sees Peeta coming and heads out. And then her and Peeta make fun of Finnick. Peeta then wonders, like, would we have turned into something like that if only one of us had won? And she's like, you would have. You have, like, a predisposition to pretty things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did Peeta just wonder if he would turn out to be a forced prostitute? Sex worker is, like, the term nowadays for people, but I would say this particular does need the negative connotation of prostitution.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, they get in their chariots, turn on fire. Katniss remembers how last year she was prepared to kill Peeta, but now she's willing to sacrifice herself so he survives. And they portray... Sorry for the dog noises in the background. Dog whale noises, I mean. Our puppies being fussy, but... They portray themselves to the crowd as the star-crossed lovers who have suffered and are now unforgiving of the Capitol. Which is like, okay... And lots of the tributes stare at them in their little outfits, especially the two from District 6 who are known morphling addicts. I know how much you love morphling. So basically they're just heroin addicts, and they're just like fucking mesmerized by this fire suit. They're like,
What the hell?
Then, when this is done, they get ready to go to the training center, and she sees Haymitch interacting with the tribute from District 11, whose name is Chaff. What?
I just imagine their trainers being like, they have it. Kill them. They have it.
Get it.
They have your morphling.
Literally. But Chaff doesn't have an arm. And so he's from District 11. The woman from District 11, her name is Cedar. And she's like 60 plus. And she hugs Katniss. And as they hug, Katniss takes this chance to whisper, "Are the families alive?" And from District 11, Rue and Thresh's families. Mm-hmm. And she says, yes, they are. So that's kind of a nice little tie-up there. They didn't, like, really do in the movie at all.
And surprising.
Yeah, very. But Chaff kisses Katniss right on the mouth. And she's like, what the fuck? And they start getting pushed towards the elevators. Before the elevators, Joanna Mason, she's from District 7, is dressed up as a tree. And she's like, my stylist is a fucking moron, pretty much. And she undresses. And they end up on the same elevator, her, Peeta, Haymitch, and Joanna. And Joanna's just like gabbing with Peeta about his paintings. And then when she leaves on the 7th floor, Peeta just breaks out laughing. And he's like, the reason they're all acting like this, like Finnick, Joanna, and Chaff, is because of you. And she's like, what? And he's like, you're such a fucking prude. And she's like, no, you're all laughing at me. And he's like, no, we're just teasing you. Like, It's kind of a goof. Like, we're not, it's like just a goof. But she doesn't see it that way. And as they enter their floor, floor 12, Haymitch's face drops. But Effie is really happy because she tells them this year they got a matched set of A-boxes. They have 2 red-headed A-boxes. One is the same girl as last year, the one that Katniss let die, pretty much. But this year the new peacekeeper is Darius from her district, the peacekeeper who tried to save Gale. Do you remember that at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the A-box now.
Mm-hmm. And given to Katniss, which, like, psychological. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one, might I just say. Chapter 16, Haymitch grabs her wrist in case she's going to do something really dumb. But she's just completely speechless about, like, thinking how he'll never talk again, and they're just both in different versions of pain and suffering right now. She heads to her old bedroom in the training center quietly, and she just chills until it's dinner time. And during dinner, at one point, she knocks some peas over the table and bends down to clean them up before anyone can tell her not to. And Darius and her just share a silent moment and hold hands before she has to go back up. And she just knows that this is what it is, you know. Mm-hmm. She doesn't really give it as much thought as she did last year with the Avox, with the Avox woman, which I think is more along the lines of she knows now she can't do anything. But before she was like, maybe I can't. It's like you can't at this point as an individual.
Yeah. Just more helpless.
Yeah, more kind of given up completely. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't want to share this awfulness about Darius with Peeta since he isn't a Seam or a Hob guy. Basically kind of coveting her, like, status, I guess, of that. Like, he just wouldn't understand, which she did last year, too. Mm-hmm. They watched the recap. What?
He wouldn't understand the issues with slavery?
It's just so confusing. I just don't know.
Yeah,
Peeta, like, wouldn't get it.
You have to really be in poverty to not understand the horrors of slavery.
And by poverty, we mean you're not making $1 billion, at least here in the U.S. Yeah. If you're making over that, you probably are like, it's not that bad.
Oof.
Yeah. They watch the recap of the opening ceremonies, and Katniss can't stop herself from thinking how grotesque some of the older contestants... She's so fucking mean. You know how when you think and you see something and you think something's so fucking mean, and then you go back to yourself and you're like, why the fuck did I just think that? That's so insensitive and crazy. Katniss does the first part.
Yeah?
That's it.
Yeah. Hey, at least she doesn't, like, just fucking say it out loud.
Yeah, I guess that's one extra good step, but she's like, these contestants look... like, she literally uses the word grotesque. Because, you know, they've had undiagnosed mental illness. They've killed people when they were children. And, you know, they've now just been killing themselves with drink or drugs or something, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's just sad to see them. And that night, Peeta joins her in bed.
The thing is, these are the children that killed the most children.
Yeah, they're the most children killing children.
Yes.
Peeta tries to join her in bed that night, but she's just too embarrassed with Darius there. And she's like, I don't even know how to give up Gale with Darius here, as a reminder of that. Which I can see. She has a scary dream with President Snow's gross lips. I just wanted to put this in there because she has like a really heavy fixation on President Snow's nasty lips.
Well, nasty boy. Come kiss me on my hot mouth.
Ew, gross. It's breakfast time, but she delays going downstairs because training this year is going to be different. Like, everyone already knows what everyone can do, but Haymitch is angry and gets her downstairs. And he has this new gold bracelet with, well, bangle. What's the difference between a bangle and a bracelet? Do you have any idea?
I think...
is one for boys and one for girls?
I think a bangle doesn't touch you, like...
Doesn't touch you or touch itself?
Like, it's loose on your wrist. And it's hard. It's really hard.
Really rock hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I'll believe you.
It's just like a circle instead of
a full
rope.
Is it touching it itself?
What do you mean?
Like, is it touching itself?
Yeah, it's a ring that goes
circle?
around your wrist, I think.
Okay. Basically, he has that.
Okay.
It's got a flame pattern on it, but she just thinks it looks like a shackle. Haymitch tells her that their job today is the huge pretend to be in love, make friends. She obviously doesn't like that, but Haymitch points out that they're at a disadvantage, like a complete disadvantage here, because the competition has known each other for years, and they're going to target her and Peeta as the outsiders first, so they have to make friends.
Yeah. It's basically, who do I want to kill?
The least, right?
Yeah. I'll leave those for the end.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody will kill them before I kill them.
Yeah.
Haymitch wants them basically to make their own career pack. He's like, look at Chaff and Cedar, maybe even Finnick. Basically just make friends so that you don't look like terrified children anymore. Last year, they were the last to arrive. So Effie this year, kind of takes them early, but they are basically the only ones there. Brutus and Enobaria, which is a fucking sick-ass name, might I just say. Enobaria from District 2 are the only ones there. And we learned that Enobaria, one year, when she was in her games, killed one tribute by ripping his throat out with her actual teeth.
Cool.
And then as she, became the victor, she got her teeth cosmetically shaved into sharp points.
Cool.
I'm kind of in love with her, dude. First of all, sick-ass name. Second of all, it's kind of hot.
Get it?
Ripping your throat out.
Yeah.
Nothing's hotter than that.
Yeah.
But they're from District 2, so they're classic careers. There's obviously poor attendance, which makes Katniss happy because that means she doesn't have to pretend to talk to people.
Yeah.
And write an introvert even better, I guess. Her and Peeta split up, and she heads to the knot tying station and vibes with that guy for like an hour before Finnick comes up around her and does like this, finishes the, like a classic like around the arms, finish the move for her type thing. Is what I'm saying.
The pottery scene from Ghost.
Or any golf scene from anything ever.
Women don't know how to play golf.
Or tie knots.
Yes. So you have to surround them and make sure they know.
Mm-hmm. So they can't escape, too.
Yes, that's important.
She then works with the fire team because she realizes she can start them, but usually not without matches. And she realizes that the District 3 tributes are at the same station with her, and she works with them. Both are kind of small folk with ashen skin and blackened hair. What do you think ashen skin means? Ashen skin.
It depends on the ashes.
But is it black? I think it's black. Ashen skin.
Well, if we go back to the lore of God of War,
okay,
the ashes of his family coats him and he becomes white.
I do think it's kind of pale white. Is it pale white?
I have no clue.
I don't either. I don't really know. I'm getting a lot of varying, I think it looks
I'm looking at the Google
white.
results.
Mostly white.
Yeah, mostly white,
but some black. Either way, they exist. That was me Googling. And they have black hair. Wyrus is one of them. She's about 50. She's very quiet, and she seems to, like, have typical ADHD symptoms where she just, like, drops her sentences and loses track of people. Mm-hmm. Very in her own head, which is not an issue. Beetee is definitely older than her, but very chill. They talk, and she learns that, like, they both invent things. Wyrus is working on a stitching device, and Beetee has created a music chip so tiny it can be hidden under a glitter flake. Which, just think about that.
Yeah.
Like, we're close here in real life, but we're not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
They talk in this strange code about the uprising, and she's basically like, did you in District 3 have any halts in production? And they're like, we did. Did District 12 have any halts in production? And she's like, we did not, but we're very small. You know, they're like just talking like that. I'd be kind of like, what the fuck? As they're talking, Wyrus points out something in the air near the gamekeepers. There's this small square of space that kind of looks like a window, but it's like wide, like it's like folded, it's like vibrating a little bit. And they tell her that that's a force field. That's like a chink in the mechanics of it, is that there's always like a little giveaway box. And she's like, oh, that's probably because of what I did last year. She's like, when I, threw shot an apple. Them. Yeah. But she learns that all force fields have this chink in the armor, which will come in handy.
Oh, foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing. They go to lunch, and they turn it into, like, a big event where, like, last year, everybody only ate with their district partner. But this year, it's like...
They all kiss.
Yeah, they all kiss and vibe. Well, actually, I didn't mention it, but during this, Katniss is, like, looking around at when she's at the fire station, she's like, should I talk to these guys? And she, like, looks around, and she's like, they're crazy. Joanna Mason is naked and oiling her breasts for wrestling. They're crazy. And I'm like... okay, and then she goes, yeah, I think I'll stick to District 3.
Yeah.
I'll just chill here for a minute. So, Peeta talks, and he's like, who do you like? And she's like, the District 3 victors. And Peeta's like, really? They're kind of a joke. Like, Joanna calls them nuts and bolts. And she gets mad at Peeta, but Peeta's like, are you just mad at me because I made fun of you the other night?
Nuts and bolts is a pretty good...
I mean, the chick's name is already Wyrus.
Yeah.
It's basically bolts, but...
My name is Wires.
Literally, when I was typing the notes, it was like, you want what? I'm like, wires. And it was like, what?
Wireless?
Do you mean wires? Wireless?
5G is killing us all?
That's true.
Yeah.
That is not true. Let me just make that clear. That is true. Not fucking true.
Okay, wait.
At lunch, she gets to know Chaff and Cedar, and she realizes now that he's sober, he's not like a shit person. He's not terrible. And she spends time with each of the victors, but only really vibes with Mags, who can't speak well, but can make a decent fish hook out of anything. She then goes to the archery range and kind of gets in her own head and just goes like ape shit. Mm-hmm. She hits everything, it's going faster, and at the end, majority of the victors have like stopped to watch her. Mm-hmm. And at dinner, Haymitch is like, you guys did it! Like, half the victors want to be allies! And she's like, Yeah, I want District 3 and Mags, the literal 80-plus-year-old. And he's like, oh, of course you want those guys. He's like, why don't you take a couple days and think on it? Yeah. Because Hamish's job is to make sure she survives.
She survives.
She survives. And she's over here like, I want District 3, which they might be pretty useful. They're inventors. And then Mags, who is useful, but obviously not a high priority considering she is more likely to pass early.
Yeah.
So, if I was Hamish, I'd be like, motherfucker, dude.
I don't know, a loud sound, she might have a heart attack.
Honestly. I mean, she's strong as shit, don't get me wrong, and 80-year-olds can be strong, but you're literally putting her in a death chamber.
Yeah.
I would say anxiety
literally
might be
old
high.
as dirt.
Older than dirt, perhaps. At least older than the arena dirt. We don't know how old that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over the next few days, she gets to know everybody more and more, which is way upsetting because she's going to have to kill them soon. And then when it's time for individual performances, neither of them know what to do, but it takes forever for her to go. She's last. Peeta went first. It takes her forever to go in because something was going on and it took 40 extra minutes. And when she goes in, she decides she's going to show off her knot tying skills and trigger warning suicide. 988 is the National Suicide Hotline. But she decides she's going to just practice her knot tying skills, and she ties a noose, puts a mannequin in it, and then puts a name on it. Seneca Crane, in the same color as the berry juice from last year.
Nice.
So she's petty as shit, and I'm kind of in it on that. You get the connection for all that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He dead.
Yeah, if you don't, Seneca Crane was the old game maker who let Katniss and Peeta live, and President Snow killed him, hung him.
Dead.
Yep. So she has this instant gratification because the game makers are terrified. Some drop glasses, some goes, but then she gets dismissed. And even though she's happy about her action, she's like, rats. Will that keep, my thought needs to be, will that keep Peeta alive? And I'm not quite sure that did. That will help. So she kind of loses that instant gratification, which is good.
Putting a target on my back, will that help Peeta?
Let's think here for a minute. Which, I think this is so interesting that they think Peeta's just a little baby, that he can't do nothing.
He's just a little guy.
Just a little guy. But
Hey, speaking of a little guy,
look at his ears.
he's asleep.
Are you asleep? Are you asleep standing?
Welcome to cat time. Our Bruno boy is asleep standing.
He's awake now. Okay, anyways. He's just a little guy, just like Bruno, except for he did kill people, and he was part of the career pack in the first games. At dinner, they discuss what they did, and Peeta says that he used the paints and the dyes, and he painted a picture. And Effie's like, oh, what was it? Was it a photo of Katniss? And Katniss is like, why would he fucking draw a picture of me? And Effie's like, to show the game makers how much he loves you. And he's like, no, I painted a picture of Rue, but not a regular picture of Rue, how she looked after you covered her in flowers after she died. And Effie's like, he's like, I wanted to hold them accountable for killing that girl. Yeah. And Effie's like, oh, you can't think that way. It's forbidden. It'll only be more trouble on the two of you. And Effie's like, that you're right. Or Hamish is like, you're right, Effie. That was a bad idea, Peeta. And Katniss is like,
cool. Peeta, why'd you do that?
And then she's like, is now a good time to
Peeta,
say that
that's crazy.
to say that I hung Seneca Crane? And Effie clutches her pearls and she's like, oh, how do you even know about that? Which makes me wonder what the inner workings of the Capitol are that Effie knows about it. Yeah. But she leaves dinner, and Katniss and Peeta joke that they might as well have planned this. And the stylist Portia and Cinna are there, and they're like, you didn't? And they're like, no.
We just vibed.
And then he's like, hey, also, by the way, we don't want any allies in the arena. And Hamish is like, you guys fucking suck. And he's like, you two suck. I would love a what's it called? Fanfic where Hamish goes into the arena instead of Peeta. Yeah. That would be very interesting.
Write it.
With what time? Between knitting, crocheting, and Minecraft? I'm not sure I'll have the time.
What about the podcast?
Oh yeah, the podcast. The podcast actually does take up a lot of time. I did write 18,000 words for this.
Okay, everybody, I need you to think of it the way I think of it. Blue decided to do book reports for fun.
I did. I like it.
Yep.
I like it. Cinna cheers her up a little bit before the numbers come out, because remember they like produce the scores. And Katniss and Peeta each pull a 12, which is the highest they can get. And it's like record breaking. And Haymitch is pissed and he can't stand to look at either of them because the target is just getting bigger and bigger on their back.
Yeah.
Before bed, Peeta and Katniss hug and he wonders why she did that. And she's like, remember last year? She's like, I guess I wanted to show them that I was more than just a piece in their games. Peeta and her go back to sleeping in the same room because they want to spend the rest of what they have together. And their training day with Effie and Haymitch is canceled, so they have a picnic on the roof, and they just kind of have like a really good day, you know? The next day, they again are sleeping in the same bed at this point. They're woken up by her prep team, and Octavia immediately has to leave because she breaks into tears after seeing them together. Like, it's just too sad for her.
Yeah.
And her prep team, not as talkative as they usually are, and eventually Flavius also has to leave because he's crying too much.
Flavor Flay has to leave?
Yeah, Flavor Flay. And Venia is the only one left, and she doesn't even look at Katniss. But before she leaves, she goes, "It has been an absolute privilege to make her look her best." And she realizes that they all know that she will be dying in these games. Cinna shows up, saying her outfit will be one of her wedding dresses on orders from President Snow himself. And of course, it's just a pretty white dress, and she puts it on. She's like, this is way heavy. Like, was it this heavy? And Cinna's like, oh, I had to make some alterations.
I made some chainmail in it.
He's like, also, don't put your arms up and only twirl when I let you twirl. And she's like, okay. And Peeta's also dressed up.
Also, don't hit the big red button. Just...
Also, stop. Peeta's...
Also, like... Don't look to the left at all.
Don't even perceive.
Actually, don't move.
Anyways, Peeta's dressed up in a wedding tux. And she's like, we should have just gotten married at home. But the other tributes stare at them in, like, kind of anger. And Finnick is like, I can't believe you're wearing that. And she's like, it's orders from President Snow. Like, I don't want to be. Like, she's like, I don't want to. And some of the tributes become a little bit more sympathetic after that, and even...
And then another one goes, high five, and she goes, oh no!
My arms! I can't... How about elbow? An elbow bump.
And they go, high 10!
No! Joanna Mason tells her to make the president pay for it, and she's like, what does that even mean? They then start the interviews, and some of them, it's a doozy. People are like, is this even allowed? Like, blah, blah, like, they're freaking out. Pissed, and they're like, maybe they can stop the games, and Katniss is second to last.
Maybe they can make the games whoever kisses the most. Who said that?
Who recommended that? Yeah, Chaff? Yeah, I agree with Chaff. Then Katniss is introduced, and the audience is already like a fucking wreck, but she's the star. She and Peeta are the star of the show.
Yeah.
Her and Caesar Flickerman talk about how there's not going to be a wedding now, and basically she twirls in her gown, and it turns into a mockingjay, and the crowd is silent. Chapter 18. She can tell that the important folks in the Capitol and Caesar know that this, like, the mockingjay is not just the bird on her pin, it's a symbol of the rebellion and an act of rebellion as she's doing this. And Cinna takes a bow, and Katniss is afraid for his life now because he's really fucked shit up.
Yeah.
But then it's Peeta's turn. And Peeta kicks ass. Like, he is awesome. He's like, I love Katniss so much. Like, do you think... He's like, Caesar, do you think our friends here can keep a secret? And he's like, yeah, of course. And he's like, we're already married. We got married before the Quell, like, in our District 12 way. Like, not officially, but, like, they're married themselves, you know? Yeah. And Peeta's like... Caesar's like, did you do it before you knew about the Quell? And he was like, no, but, like, I wish we hadn't. Like, he's like, I'm how could we have seen this coming? And Caesar's like, I bet you probably are glad you at least got those months together, married. And Peeta's like... Not really, because of the baby. Oh, fucking Peeta, man. That was...
a baby.
Oh, perfect. Fucking awesome bomb drop. Way better than the one Gale does.
Yeah.
It's a good joke.
That's a good joke.
Thanks, babe. And this is the perfect thing, because even the people in the Capitol, they, like, take a minute. And even the people who are, like, so pro-Capitol just, like, cannot allow this. Katniss is pregnant, and the games could not go on, and the crowd goes fucking feral.
Yeah.
Peeta's crying, and he reaches for her hand, and eventually all the other victors are joining hands, even the careers, and everything has gone to chaos.
Isn't there a career without a hand?
Chaff doesn't have a hand. He's from District 11. Yeah, he doesn't have it in the movie, and they grab his little nub.
Can't say that.
What do I say instead? What do I say instead?
I don't know.
They grab his...
Stump.
That's the same thing! Anyways.
It's not little nub.
A whittle hand?
If you're an amputee.
What's the correct terminology? I don't know. When they get off the stage, Peeta's like, is there anything I need to apologize for? Because last time he dropped a bomb like that, she pushed him into a vase and busted his hand open. But she's like, no, that was a pretty big leap to take without me knowing, but I think that was a good choice.
Wait, I'm pregnant? Oh my
Peeta,
god.
how'd you do that? Is that how babies are made? You just say it?
My headcanon is that she's dumb as a bag of rocks.
I kind of think she is.
That'd be so much more funny if she was just stumbling
Peeta,
through this.
Oh, wait, I don't want to do it. Oh, well, they're from Appalachia. I can do it.
Yeah.
Peeta, how'd you do that? Peeta, there's a baby in me?
How'd you put baby in there?
All right. She takes a moment to think about how this is affecting her family, but she's also like, they know I'm dead soon. Like, they gotta know something. They get back to the hotel. They get back to the tribute center.
They get back to the bed and breakfast.
Yeah, they get back to the Marriott.
The Red Roof Inn.
And Haymitch is like, it's fucking chaos out there. They've canceled the recap of the, I guess, interviews. And people don't know. Did your phone just go off?
No, I don't think so.
Are you fucking serious right now?
No, I don't think
On
it
my
went off.
The Catching Fire Hunger Games podcast? What is it? What's so important?
The Podcord wants us to know that we have 4 new sponsors, even though we don't use them.
Even though we don't use them and we don't have sponsors. Please sponsor us.
Please sponsor us.
We just hit 500.
We'll give you a little kiss.
We won't do that. Maybe Justin will, but I won't.
If you want one.
No. Peeta is wondering if they're asking to cancel the games, and Haymitch is like, I'm sure they are, but you guys know that the president won't cancel them, right? He's like, yeah. But Effie was ordered to go home, and they realize they're never going to be able to say goodbye to her. And they're like, Haymitch, do something special for her. Like, make it special. You know how Effie is. And Haymitch's last bit of words to them are to stay alive and go to bed. And as they leave, Haymitch is like, Katniss, just one more thing. He's like, when you're in the arena, remember who the real enemy is.
Greg. You know the one, champion Greg?
Danny's Greg?
No, just the champion.
Danny
No, just the champion in the Hunger Games, Greg.
Yeah. As if they would have a normal name named Greg.
Hi, I'm Tom. I won this, 70th Hunger Games.
They had a character named Thom.
That's not Tom.
Close enough. Katniss won't give Peeta, like, a minute alone because she's worried that if the doors lock behind them, then they're going to get separated, which I get that anxiety. They sleep as best they can, but eventually Portia and Cinna arrive to dress them. They follow the same pattern as last year, getting into the hovercraft, getting the tracker injected into her, launching, and then getting into the arena room and Cinna braiding her hair.
Why would they take that out, though?
Take the tracker out?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I suppose they didn't expect this to happen again.
I know, but they want to know where those people are.
They already do, probably. The
Yeah.
tracker's just for the arena.
Okay.
I'm sure they know exactly where they are at all times, except for Katniss, who sneaks off into the woods.
That's what I'm saying. If they had a tracker on her.
Yeah, but I think she'd notice if there was a huge lump in her arm. She would have dug it out, crazy bitch.
And
Anyways.
what, get her family killed?
Yeah, probably. She's having a break. She's starting the breakdown soon. I like her breakdown. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cinna guesses that based on the outfit, there's water in the arena. And he has her Mockingjay pin for her because homegirl never fucking remembers her Mockingjay pin. Oh my goodness. She gets in the tube and Cinna lets her know that he's still betting on her. And as she gets locked into the tube, 3 peacekeepers show up and just fucking beat the shit out of Cinna.
Nice.
Absolutely destroy him and pull him out of the room. And she's shocked but has absolutely no time to process it because the tube starts pushing her into the arena and all she can see is lots of water in every direction and all she can think is that this is no place for the girl on fire.
They said, up you go. Upsy kisses.
No, I'm doing Cats, the musical Cats.
No, I don't like the musical Cats because it's bad.
That's wrong.
I think it's right.
I'm gonna do a bonus episode on Cats the musical when we get a Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that anyone would
find someone else for that episode, baby.
Part 3, The Enemy, Chapter 19. Claudius Templesmith says, let the 75th Hunger Games begin, and she has less than a minute to get her bearings. But obviously all she can think about is how Cinna's obviously being tortured or he's dead already.
Yeah.
And how this is clearly a way to unhinge her before the games. And it worked.
Yeah.
But she decides that her refusal to play the games on the Capitol's terms will be her last act of rebellion, and she has to, start figuring shit out. So she realizes, lots of water, hot sun. The cornucopia is about 40 yards away on an island, and the arena, if you've seen the movie, that's pretty accurate to what it looks like, but the cornucopia is gold. But it's like a wheel with the arena in the middle, and little, spokes going, so 12 different spokes going to it, and between each spoke is 2 tributes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so tribute, spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Tribute, spoke.
And then all the way around.
Tribute, spoke.
You done?
Tribute, spoke.
So it's like that. And on one side of her, on the side of her in her spoke, she has a guy named Woof. I was worried I'd triggered the dog. From District 8, and she can't see Peeta, which means he's probably across the cornucopia from her. She manages to smell the water, or she tastes it, actually. She bends down and tastes it, and it's salt water. So she realizes the only way to the cornucopia. So she's about 20 yards from the spoke. So each of them are about 20 yards from the spoke, 40 yards from the cornucopia. Mm-hmm. I don't know what yards is. I mean, I do, but I don't get it. And
it's half the distance to get on the spoke than it is to go to the cornucopia.
Yeah. So the only way to get there is by swimming. You can't just go.
And if you get on a spoke, there's a likelihood that the other person on the other side of the spoke is going to go too.
So it's the perfect way to introduce immediate bloodshed.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that not everybody has the ability to swim. Mm-hmm. So District 4 is at an obvious advantage here. Peeta's not. Peeta doesn't know how to swim. Katniss is because her father taught her how to swim, but that's it. If she was a regular girl from District 12, she would not know how to swim, and she'd be fucked. But she is. And she doesn't hesitate to dive in the water as soon as the gong hits. And she gets...
hesitate, bitch.
I won't hesitate, bitch. And she gets on the spike very quickly and starts running towards the cornucopia. And unlike last year, where things were kind of in waves out from the cornucopia, it's sitting in one fucking big pile in front of the mouth of the cornucopia, and it's just weapons. So she manages to get a bow and a set of arrows, and then the next thing she knows is Finnick is next to her, and he's like, how the fuck can you swim? And he's like, oh, well, and they have weapons trained on each other, and he's like, it's okay because we're allies, and he shows her the solid gold bangle that Haymitch had.
The tiger?
Rawr.
Didn't like that.
Rawr.
I didn't like that again.
They're in the jungle this time, so yeah, rawr.
Oh, no.
So this angers her because she's a bitch. That Haymitch did this without telling her, which I would be pretty peeved too, honestly.
Yeah.
But they start working together, and Haymitch kills the man from District 5. He showed up next.
The thing is, though, that Katniss would... If they told Katniss beforehand, she'd come out of the tube and be like, hey, Finn!
Yeah, hey, Finnick! Hey, bud! Plus, she doesn't like Finnick, but obviously Finnick is her best choice.
Yeah.
So, he tells her after killing that man not to trust District 1 and 2. They take their picking...
What?
Well, he's a career.
Yeah.
He's a twice career now.
Yeah.
And he tells her, like, they take their pickings from the cornucopia because they're the first people there, and by the time they're done, other people are just starting to reach the land. But, like I said, it's only weapons. There's no food, there's no water, there's no tents or anything. It's just weapons.
So they only got there first because they know how to swim. The rest are doggy
paddling
to the spokes.
And then running.
Yeah.
So they have to go because the careers are on them. Oh, wait, sorry. She grabs a bunch of weapons, and then Brutus. She grabs something called it's like an owl or something. A-W something.
An awl?
Yeah, an awl. An axe, a small knife, and a big knife.
All I know an awl is from leatherworking. It's just like a really, really thick needle.
Yeah. That'll be important.
Okay.
Ironically. Not ironically, but... Brutus is what?
Ironically, but not at all.
We use the word ironically wrong all the time, but who gives a shit? Brutus is there barreling towards her, using his belt like a weapon, like he's holding it up. But she doesn't end up killing him. He falls into the water, and they have to go because the other careers...
And then the lifeguard blows his whistle and jumps in.
You're done! Time! The other careers are on them, so these are the names of the careers. Gloss and Cashmere, who are the brother and sisters from District 1.
That were one after each other.
Mm-hmm, back to back. And Abaria, who I love. And Brutus. And it's funny because it's like these badasses, and then it's Finnick, who's like the most beautiful... poor prostituted boy, and then it's fucking Mags, who's like 1,000.
Yeah. So their careers did not not show up for this one, really.
I mean, I'm sure they had a huge pool of victors.
In the movie, it made it look like there was
just the three of them.
Just the three.
Because there's Annie Cresta, yeah. But, I mean, it must have been bigger than that because they are careers.
Yeah.
So, it just seems like... So, they're in the water now. They are, like, on one of the spokes. Everybody's going towards the cornucopia, and they have to go get Peeta, who is not doing good. And Finnick offers to get him, but she's like, oh my god, he's gonna kill him. But Finnick's like, in your condition, you probably shouldn't exert yourself, and, like, touches her belly. She's like, oh, I'm supposed to be pregnant.
I forgot about that.
Then Finnick is underwater. And Mags is coming towards them, but the other tributes seem to be very preoccupied.
Mags is slowly walking towards them.
On the water. She is Jesus. Finnick brings Peeta around, and they're all talking about how great it is that Haymitch did this alliance. Mags mentions that the belts are flotation devices to keep folks from drowning. So, well, she doesn't mention it. She, like, makes some sounds, and Finnick gets what she's saying.
Huh.
Yeah. They head away from the cornucopia because the spokes go right onto a beach. And there's jungle at the edge of the beach. And Katniss is like, I obviously don't know for a fact that this is jungle, but I'm familiar with the word and the idea from maybe a different game or a book or something.
Yeah, the concept of jungle. Yeah.
So they start moving forward in a line with Peeta in front, hitting vines out of the way with his long knife. Finnick has Mags on his back, and Katniss takes up the rear.
Can we talk about the debate? When does long knife become sword?
I feel like somebody answered that. It's like a certain amount of inches. Probably like 2 or 3, because you really don't need more than 2 or 3 inches.
After maybe? 2 or 3, it's really like a sword.
Like
yeah, that's like a long sword, really.
I mean, two-handed even.
Yeah.
You need 2 hands for that bad boy.
Yeah.
I will note that Finnick has to be in fucking beautiful shape because he has Max on his back, and it takes him up, like, let me repeat. He has Mags on his back, and he only whines after a mile to rest. Is what I'm saying making any sense?
He's running with a woman on his back.
Well, more like hiking, but yes.
Okay. But speed hiking.
Speed hiking, and it seems more like he asked to rest because of her instead of him. They keep climbing, and at one point she ends up climbing to a very tall tree to look at the cornucopia, which is covered in blood. The water is purple, and she can see multiple bodies floating in the sea. This makes her realize that she only has one friend, and he's not from District 4. It's not Finnick. She decides she should just go down there and kill Finnick now because he's too dangerous. He's obviously, like, I mean, he's one of the younger tributes. Like, he is calculating and murderous.
Does he have a weapon?
He does. He has 3 tridents.
3 tridents, okay.
So he's carrying 3 tridents and mags.
Yes.
That cannot be easy. Like, that's at least 120 pounds.
Yes.
When she gets on the ground, Finnick is clearly following the same wavelength at her because he's holding one of his weapons. And he's like, oh, was everybody very nonviolent? Kind of making fun of, like, her. Like, he knows the way she thinks, like, thinking that, like, she would have been like, but we held hands last night.
Yeah.
Finnick is like, one of us is leaving this arena.
Yeah. You're in an arena with, what, 24 murderers?
Everybody here is a murderer.
Yeah.
Maybe not Peeta. Like, he committed murder, but not on purpose.
Yeah.
But everybody here has committed a murder.
Yeah.
Most of them are what I would consider dangerous criminal murderers.
Yeah.
Turned into that, no less. He basically says that the past is the past and not one person in the arena was a victor by chance. And then he goes, except for maybe Peeta. Which makes her realize that Finnick does know that Peeta's better than the rest of them, like we were just saying. And they stare at each other very calculatingly, but Peeta steps in and breaks them up.
I don't think being forced to murder makes you a worse person. It does make you different.
It definitely changes your psyche.
Yeah.
Not for the better, not for the worse.
Yeah.
Just really depends on the situation. I think in this situation, if you're not a career, it changes you for the worse.
Yeah.
At least majority of them.
I think it changed the careers for the worse, too.
Changes them for the worst in our perspective, but not in their perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not for their society.
Yeah.
But society. They need to find water before the others come hunting them. And that's when Katniss realizes, like, oh, we should probably stick as a group because people are going to come hunting us and my job is to keep Peeta alive.
Yeah, she basically soloed the last one, so...
And she did great, but she's got to keep this bumbling idiot in her perspective alive.
Yeah.
Speaking of bumbling idiot, they walk for a while hoping to find something on the other side of this hill when Katniss sees something that nobody else sees. She sees a little ripple in the corner. And it's too late for her to connect it, that it's a force field, when Peeta's knife hits it, throwing him backwards. He's motionless. She's freaking out, screaming his name, and she listens to hear his heart, but there's nothing.
Nice. Zap him again! Hit him again!
Chapter 20, she flips out. She's slapping him, screaming at him, and Finnick, like, pushes Mags against a tree, pushes Katniss out of the way, and starts doing CPR. But she thinks he's trying to keep Peeta dead somehow. She's hysterical right now.
Yeah.
In an arena where everybody's trying to murder her.
Yeah.
So she rushes Finnick, but he punches her in the chest so hard that she falls back. And when she pulls her arrow, she recognizes it as CPR, finally. She's like, her mom has only ever done it once or twice because if your heart stops, you don't really get a time to call the doctor back in the olden days and in this future.
Yeah.
So she can tell that Finnick has done CPR before, and all she can hope is that when Peeta gives a cough, all she can do is hope, and Peeta gives a cough, and Finnick moves out of the way. So my theory, like, Finnick has probably done CPR before because drowning, that I can see a more realistic.
It's more important for his
his district
people to know.
Yeah. So Peeta jokes, and he's like, hey, careful, there's a force field up ahead. And she fucking hysterically sobs. Like, hysterically.
Yeah.
About how his heart stops, and he's like, it's okay, like, I'm alive. And Finnick is like, he's like, you must be emotional from the hormones from the baby. So twice now Finnick has done this.
He's just
for
like,
her.
baby, baby, baby.
Literally, he's obsessed with her. She's mad because now she's never going to stop owing Finnick for saving Peeta's life.
Yeah. Dumbo, just stay alive.
Just idiot. And Finnick gives them, like, a very weird look, like he's trying to figure something out, but eventually she's just like, let's move on. Or he's like, let's just move on. And she sees a chain around Peeta's neck, and it's a necklace with the Mockingjay on it, so his thing. Katniss realizes that since the morning, she has watched Cinna get beaten to a pulp, landed in another arena, and watched Peeta die. And she's like, I'm kind of glad Finnick keeps playing the pregnancy card for me, which, like, I would be too. She takes lead this time since Finnick kind of put 2 and 2 together that she realized there was a force field there. She lies and she's like, can you hear it? You can hear it, right? She's like, oh, that's crazy. It's only out of the ear they reconstructed last year. Because she doesn't kind of want to give away the
secret.
Yeah, like in case the Capitol didn't know there was this chink in the armor.
Mm-hmm.
So they walk for a while, and she passes time by throwing like these random acorn nut looking things at the force field, which does cook them, but they're too scared to eat them until Max just pops one in her mouth.
Hungry. She a hungry girl.
And they're like, Max, spit that out. She's like, I ate it. And they're like, well, I guess we'll see if it's poison.
Yeah.
And, it takes her about an hour. She doesn't die. So they spend some time, wondering what's going on. And, it is what it is.
She pops another one.
They end up eating all the nuts. But Katniss wonders what's going on with Finnick. Why did he bring Peeta back from the dead? Why is he our ally and all that? But she doesn't really take too much, she doesn't have time to really think these deep thoughts.
Yeah.
Her job is to keep Peeta alive.
It's just like, okay, you're not murdering me. You promise you're not going to murder me. I need to move on from this.
Yeah. And they're kind of trying to turn left, but the force field keeps pushing them in a right direction. They haven't been able to turn left. And so, yeah. Okay. So,
would you say they're going clockwise?
I don't know. I'm not putting the clock in I can't think that way.
It's the right.
Then yes. She climbs into a tree because they have...
take that one more time.
What?
She climbs into a tree.
I did not say it that way.
You did?
She climbs into a tree because... She haven't been able to turn, and she looks down and realizes that the arena is just a big-ass circle, and it's, really symmetrical. She doesn't see any water, and that becomes their next issue. Are you really that mad about the dog making noise? Oh, okay.
No.
I'm just
glad
I'm just glad she's not making a squeak toy.
Oh, you're doing this second episode in a row. You're just getting on Justin.
Maybe for the 5th episode in a row, I'll say I want some fucking Alfredo tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Getting Korean, though, so breaking the pattern. Where am I? She hunts alone for a bit because Peeta's a bumbling idiot, and the sound of a cannon breaks her concentration, which starts the death toll from the blood bath.
That was whole. I think you needed one more time that.
It starts the death toll from the blood bath, which is 8 cannons. And in this minute, she sees this weird fucking rat-looking thing, but its muzzle is wet. She kills it, but can't find the source of the water. Arriving back at camp, she finds Mags and Finnick have created all this wonderful, weaved shit. They have a mat for the floor, they have some walls, a ceiling. It's just, really fucking kind of lit. So when she gets back, she ends up cooking that rodent meat on the force field too. And then it's night, and they watch the people who died. Their faces appear in the sky. It was the man from District 5, the morphling from District 6, Cecilia, who had 3 kids, and Wolf, both from 8.
There's a morphling?
What do you mean? What?
Morphling?
Yeah, that's what she calls the 2 people who are addicted to morphling.
Oh.
Like I said, she's very insensitive. Both from District 9, the woman from 10, Cedar from 11. And she reflects how hard this must be on everyone besides her and Peeta, and it is still hard on her and Peeta.
Yeah.
Then a silver parachute comes down, and it has a strange metal object in it. It's a tube tapered at one end, and at the other end there's a lip pointing downwards. She has this familiarness of it, but none of them have any fucking clue what it is. It's nighttime, or it is continuing to be nighttime, but it's still really, really fucking hot. And she starts to think about the people back home and how she wishes it was cold. And this is when she realizes that the bit of metal is a spile for syrup.
Yeah.
But obviously not for syrup. Her father used to have a bunch, but she never found them again in the woods after he died.
Yeah.
They all realize, like, obviously, like I said, not for syrup. Something else must come to the trees, and it must be water. So they use the awl. So this is where the awl comes through, is they dig a hole, drill a hole into it, and put the spile in, and eventually a thin stream of water comes out, which is awesome. Mags has a basket so tightly woven it holds water. They all just, like, chug, and they fall asleep. In the middle of...
Damn, she can weave.
Damn, that bitch be weaving.
Damn.
In the middle of the night, they hear the tolling of a bell. 12 bongs. 420. And they see a dazzling bolt of electricity in the distance, but nothing else. Katniss takes first watch, and it takes like an hour for this lightning to stop. And then there's the sound of a cannon. Somebody died. The rain stops. The fog starts to roll out. And then fog starts to roll out. And she's like, oh, it's just fog from the rain and the lightning. It's so hot. But then, like, something feels wrong. And so she starts to wake everybody up just as the fog hits her and she begins to blister. So chapter 21, which is the last chapter we'll do today. Everywhere the droplets hit her skin, it feels like tiny stabs.
Cool.
She's screaming and running, the group obviously waking right the fuck up. Peeta and Mags running a little more slowly than the rest of them, obviously, with Peeta giving his heart just stopping and Mags being old as shit.
Yeah.
Hazy. Bad. It's hard to record with a little dog.
It's hard to record with a bad dog in a house.
She then has the quick impulse to just leave Peeta as a survival mechanism, but she's like, no, don't do that, and she holds his hand more tightly, telling Peeta to watch her feet and step where she steps. I will point out in this moment, remember, Peeta does not have 2 human legs. Remember? Mm-hmm. I think this is the only other part that it becomes important.
You said that like he has like a dog leg on one side.
He does, yeah, that's what it is. How? He's in the water with this leg. It must be pretty... I wish you went into more detail with the leg.
Yeah.
Can you watch your dog? That dog, not your dog. Not your cat. The mist continues to lap at their feet, burning, and it's not like a burning like fire, but it's more like a chemical burn.
Mm-hmm.
And their jumpsuits are basically like nothing to stop this. Finnick is moving a little bit faster than the 2 of them, but stops when he notices Peeta's not keeping up. And eventually Peeta's bad leg gets tangled and he falls, and he's not getting up quickly. So she tries to help him, but her arm starts spasming. The fog must also be affecting their nerves, which wasn't portrayed in the movie. Peeta's leg isn't working right, and Finnick has to come back for him. He grabs Peeta, pulling him along, but Finnick needs to carry him, and Katniss says she will attempt to carry Mags. They keep going, and this is, a dramatic part in the book and the movie. Finnick moving diagonally downhill towards the water, and she's like, wow, I'm glad we didn't kill Finnick. He's got good ideas. But unfortunately, things start going downhill because Katniss starts falling. She falls twice.
Literally downhill.
You're right, babe. And 2 times she manages to get back up, but the 3rd time her legs are not working properly. And Finnick comes back around, and he's like kind of teary-eyed. He can't take them both. His arms aren't working. Mm-hmm. And then the next moment happens so quickly she doesn't even have time to recognize that it's happening. And Mag gets up, gives Finnick a sloppy wet kiss on the mouth.
Okay.
And then falls directly into the fog.
Cool.
So in the movie, they're like, oh, she falls in and then it's gone. She's gone. We didn't even see her. No, in the book, she starts to seize and falls to the ground in a horrible dance before she dies. So that's cool.
Getting jiggy with it.
She really is. They start to move again, losing sense of time and space and basically just running. And then finally, they're at the beach and they just collapse. They can't go any further. And they're like, we're all going to die. But then the fog stops right before them as if being held up by a window. And as it has stopped, ow, the dog bit me. They're all just lying there twitching and gasping for air. But then Peeta sees what they assume are monkeys. Again, none of them are familiar with it, but they're like, we think those are monkeys. They're these big, and they're not portrayed this way in the movie again, big orange furred, they're about half the size of a fully grown human.
Okay.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's really big.
That's pretty big. Especially for a monkey.
Yeah, for a monkey, not a ape. Because they're different.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, this is a good sign, because obviously they wouldn't be here if they were fucking poison, if the air was poison. And they start crawling into the ocean, and the water burns as if they are touching open flames, but it feels better afterwards. And she's like, this puts a new twist on rubbing salt in the wounds. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Funny, but shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then they feel some relief as the fog, like, literally... She's just gonna make noise, Justin.
I know. Audio gold.
What was I saying? The, like, fog comes out of it. Under the water, it's like a milky white substance, but when they pour water on Finnick, because he's, like, literally not well enough to move, it just comes back out as fog. So her feet aren't working, and her arms are her feet are working, but her arms aren't really working, so she just ends up scooping water onto his wounds. And, eventually both her and Peeta are feeling well enough that they can get Finnick Finnick got the brunt of it.
Yeah.
And they cut away his jumpsuit and find 2 shells, and they just start scooping water on him. And then they slowly submerge him into the water and then detoxify him.
Yeah, you can't just drag that boy in.
Well, both their arms weren't working.
Oh.
So, like, they kind of had to do the shells and as slow and go from there. Both her and Peeta are starting to feel a lot better, and just as Finnick is starting to come around, they have to submerge his head, which is the worst part. Then Katniss taps a tree, thinking about how Mag sacrificed herself to save Peeta, and that's, again, very weird. But, you know... It is what it is.
She was also a billion. She knew she was gonna die.
She went in there knowing, which is sad, but it's true. Yeah, so they're relaxing a little bit, getting water. Katniss is in the water with Finnick, who's, like, transforming from the water. He's swimming around and playing in the water, even playing with Katniss, which is kind of a sweet moment. They start to get back on the beach when Katniss feels a shift, like something is wrong, and she's like, oh, maybe my reconstructed ear does work a little bit better. And Peeta's, like, kind of deeper-ish in the woods, but she feels, like, warm bodies above her, and she's like, I have no idea how long they've been there. And she arms herself silently and, like, is like, Finnick, like, and then she's like, hey, Peeta, hey, can you, like, calmly and quietly come over here? Using her quiet voice, because he's a bit less aware of these things. And the monkeys it's monkeys, and they hold their position as he walks toward them, but Peeta senses them, looks up, and then they converge into a frenzy. And there's this big long fight scene that I didn't detail, but basically...
They fight monkeys?
Yeah, Peeta has his knife sword, Katniss with her arrows, and Katniss has, like, 3 or 4... arrow bushels, so she's not, like, as fucking useless as, like, I usually think people with bow and arrows are. So Peeta loses his weapon, and just as a monkey goes for his throat, somebody materializes, and it's the morphling from District 6 who throws herself in front of the monkey, and she basically hugs it, and it sinks its teeth into her gut.
Oof.
So that's where we're gonna end it.
All right, on the fun part.
How'd you feel?
Monkey time, baby. It's monkey business.
Monkey business. They're business monkeys.
That bite guts.
Yeah, well, they're hungry.
They're hungry.
What else is it?
They had busy business meetings and could not stop for lunch.
No, I want lunch. And by lunch, I mean dinner. Thank you folks so much for listening. Follow us on TikTok. You do the next part.
Oh, YouTube.
No, TikTok at Reading
TikTok.
You shut up, I hate you. At Reading Held Hostage, YouTube as well. Subscribe, do all that fun stuff.
Ring that freaking bell.
Ring that friggin' bell. Send us an email. Let us know what you want us to read. Leave us a review on the Spotify. We would really, really appreciate it. It's just right under the follow button. It's super simple. You just leave us a 0 or 5-star review.
We just hit 500 listens, right?
Yeah, we hit 500 listens, and we got an additional review. So thank you for the person who was our 16th reviewer. Much, much appreciated. And go to your library and read books now that Netflix sucks. And you can get movies and videos there, I guess.
Yeah.
Movies and programs, shows. Anything else?
Corporate America wants you under their boot heel.
And we'll give you that to boot.
Oh.
That was good.
Oh, that was the most.
And my name's Blue, and I love to read.
And my name's Justin. And my wife is so funny.
My name's Justin to boot. The dog needs to be taken out.
It does seem like the dog needs to be taken out.
And I vote that you take the dog out.
I vote that you take the dog out because I kept the dog quiet during your meeting.
I vote you take the dog out because I read 18,000 words.
You do that for your own enjoyment.
No.